Welcome to my studio. I'm Tero Kuitunen. I'm a designer, basically, but I'm working kind of in many fields. So I have, my background is from ceramic and glass, which I studied in the university, and after that I started to do my master's called Applied Arts, which is kind of very broad spectrum of different things, but basically it was how to create design concepts, how to kind of work with the spatial design, how to just kind of mix and match kind of design and art, more or less. So that's a little bit about my background, but definitely, as I said, I have like ceramic and glass has been always kind of one of my great loves in kind of in design world. So I'm still working with a lot of ceramics, and I'm just lucky I have my kind of ceramic studio just behind the corner, which I love to go and do. But today I'm kind of showing you a little bit more about my studio and what I work in here. So this is of course more place where I do also like computer work, assemble things, and in my work one of the kind of key elements or key things or kind of even theme that I'm working or studying is touching, and touching in kind of different forms and things. So one thing is like what I like to touch, or what invites people to touch, what kind of materials. So that's why a lot of like use this, as you see in the background, maybe these French mirrors. So I really love kind of the idea that they can, when you touch there is this movement, and I think that kind of fringe is something that always you have kind of feel, you need to touch it when you see it. I have this, the idea came for those mirrors. Like my grandmother's old house, she had this old lampshade where is this fringe going around the rim, so it's just something that you always want to put your finger through it. Also this kind of very haptic materials. So these are made with paper yarn, which we are actually today working. A little bit I'm showing a little bit different techniques how I work with this. Lamps, for example. So it's just, it feels nice to touch, and it's kind of like, it's just fun. Like I think fun and the kind of joy is something I hopefully people can see in my work. And then going back to the touching theme, then of course ceramic is something that is there. Of course it feels nice in your hand, but then also what I kind of want to study is how the touch of the maker is seen in the objects. So for example, these mix and match vases that I made, or potters, I really wanted to kind of keep the look so that it's kind of very, you can see that it's handmade. I could have made it even more in a way perfect, very sharp edges, but then I wanted that there's this softness and kind of the touch of the hand in those. And then kind of the third theme in the touching aspect is more kind of what touches people. In a way it's maybe more spiritual, or kind of how you get connected to objects, because that's I think very important also, that people can appreciate and they have kind of their personal relationship with the objects. So what I think is very important, and especially for designers, that we think also that the things that people then buy or get, they really enjoy them because we have so much stuff in the world. And I think that's like one big aspect of my work, that I try to create things that bring joy to the people, but then it's something that they really appreciate and keep them for a long time. So it's not like this, you buy something and you throw away. It's more that it's for the rest of your life. And of course, as we maybe today do, some show a little bit how you can also do yourself things. So that's of course always fun. And then you appreciate it maybe more because it's your handmade. So as I said, I work with objects quite a lot, but then I'm also working with more spatial design. And I have been lucky to have also curated exhibitions. So I had this Wild at Heart exhibition that I curated 2 years ago, and it was going in 5 different countries in Europe which was very nice because the whole concept of the exhibition was that they wanted to, or they asked me to kind of curate an exhibition that is about contemporary and modern design, because in Finland we have a great heritage of design. We have like Alvar Aalto is very famous modernist architect and designer, for example. But quite often when people speak about Finnish design, it's always looking in the past, in this kind of golden age of design that we call it here, like 30s, 50s, 60s. But with this Wild at Heart exhibition, I really wanted to show that, hey, we have a great new workers and contemporary design. And then I'm also working kind of concepts or installations. So I did for this Christmas in one shopping center, Camp Galleria in Helsinki. They asked me to kind of bring somehow Christmas installation, but they didn't want that it's too much like a Santa Claus and very Christmas. So they wanted to have also kind of modern take on that. So I did this fringe with the silk paper fringe in different colors, these big hanging installations, and that was a lot of fun, a lot of work, because finally there was over 1 kilometer of this fringe like thing, and I did all by myself, which was crazy in 3 weeks, but it was kind of great project to be involved. So really, like being a designer, I would say there's so many different ways that you can be it and you can do it. And of course there is people that only also maybe concentrate on one material or one thing, but for me it's very nice and important that I can work in very broad things and I can go from small to big. So I think that's very inspiring for me. So I made this I would say mask with the paper fringe, and I think today we're a little bit using something that I maybe learned in this process, and it's kind of fun how it looks from this side, and here you can really see like how you are doing the knotting, and actually these are not, they are just pushed through the fence or this kind of wire, so it comes kind of nice looking, and again it's very fun to touch. So maybe we can start to create this little bit wall hanging tapestry, what I was thinking to do today. So really you only need you need to have some kind of this mesh or wire thing. I found this metal like construction that I really like because it's kind of easy to bend, but you can find whatever you can get, like it can be made from plastic or however you find, but I think this is kind of from different like hobby shops or arts and crafts shops you can find it. So I have cut this in this form that I think it's easy to work. It's good to have it always a little bit bigger than maybe you think the object is, because you can cut it afterwards. So yeah, it's good to put this tape for these sharp edges. And also when you if you find this kind of nice color, you can even just leave it after it, so it kind of makes nice frame for the piece. These are, by the way, like one of the most iconic Finnish design objects, these Fiskars scissors. And I think like in every household in Finland we have these scissors. I think they were designed in the 60s, and I think it's like one of the most sold scissors in the world. So we are, as Finns, we are very proud of this. So here we have now the kind of the structure for our kind of piece that we're working today. I think I will kind of just freestyle a little bit the idea today. But you can, as I said, we're working today with this paper yarn. I really love this because it's kind of nice to work with. Of course, because it's paper, so it's ecological, because we have to think what is ecological these days also. And as a designer, it's one very important thing that we use materials that are not harmful for the environment. But of course, if you cannot find paper yarn, You could use whatever kind of yarn that you can find. It could be even like woolen thing, or if you feel very kind of creative, you could also cut from old newspapers even. So I have kind of different colors here that I have choose to work today. They come always in this very big thing, so it's easier to work when you put it in these kind of smaller parts or kind of nuts. And then what I have done, I cut these kind of smaller parts. So it really doesn't matter how long they are, but I have found it's kind of easier to work when they're a little bit longer. So I would say this here in centimeters, this is maybe 30. But you can kind of cut it afterwards also when the piece is done. So maybe I just start with the blue today. As I said, I will kind of just freestyle kind of different maybe patterns or different little bit structures in here. So if the basic kind of structure is the idea of this kind of hanging fringe, so how you start to do it, you put the yarn that you have in half. It's good to have it kind of neat the end, then you just push it through, and then you have the other like loose ends. So it's important that you always put it in kind of in between the mesh. So then you make this kind of easy knot there. So there's this hook and then you just pull it and that's it. So then again, I have noticed it's much easier to work when these edges are the same, or the ends of the paper yarn is the same. So this is kind of the more secure way to put it. I think there's definitely different options to create this same kind of form. But I like to work that there's kind of these knots, but then you can also just push these through because the paper yarn has kind of grit to itself. When there is enough of them, you can just kind of take it through there. And when you start to putting them more, they kind of support each other so they don't come out. The same thing that I had the mask that I did for, there was no knots involved, so it was just, you kind of take it through this mesh. And of course that's one thing I like about this metal, because it's kind of easy to work then. You really kind of just get it through there. So slowly start to kind of make bigger part in that patch. And you can just mix and match the colors how you want. I think today I'm going to work so there is this kind of separate areas that I always use one color, but you could just start also using all the colors at the same time, and that can also make very nice effect. Of course, this, if you don't put the knots, it's a lot faster. But again, if you start pulling them, of course, then they come out. But as today we are working more for this kind of piece that we can put it in the wall, so I think it doesn't matter if it's not like stuck there permanently in a way. And then you start to see in the other side that it starts to kind of make this kind of neat little area. And again, I like to every now and then put these knots to there also, so it's kind of makes it a little bit more secure then. But you can really kind of do it however you find it's kind of funnest and easiest for you. So now we have done a little touch of this kind of fringe area here, but I think I will also make this kind of more kind of flat woven area there. So for that you just take kind of a little bit longer piece. I would say this is maybe a couple of meters. It can be shorter, but so for that you just kind of start putting again through it, but then you just do it like that, make a knot there. So it's stuck in one end. And then you take the whole thing and start. It's kind of like, say, like same that you would fix clothing or some other stuff. So you just pull it through. Of course, it's a little easier if it's a little shorter. Maybe it's a little too long. Easier to work that it's not too long, but long enough that we can kind of make nice area there. So I like to always to keep this kind of primer side that here it goes always straight, like from this straight line, and then in the back side that it goes always in the next like next line of the mesh. So here it goes a little bit, how do you say, like zigzag. So this is also kind of a nice technique to kind of just weave through the metal part. So it's more that it's just kind of going through like through the mesh structure. And also here in the back now you can see there's kind of different techniques, different directions to go. And I think it's just kind of there's so many different ways to use these materials, so it's really like just try and error, so to say. So, and if something doesn't work, you can always take it out and try something else. Yeah, so you could also make a kind of mask to just cut it somehow in the shape. So I don't know, I think I was first thinking that this could be a mask, but now when I see it, I think it's more kind of abstract. Maybe there can be some water here with the colors. This can be a little bit more sun or earth. I think that's nice to when you are doing art or seeing art. It's always that there is no rules how you have to see it or what do you think about it. It's just whatever it makes you feel or gives you ideas or I like the kind of freedom that the art and making of art and doing by your hands. So I would say there is no kind of rules you have to follow. Just do what suits you and kind of what gives you inspiration. So today I was just inspired by these colors. So this blue and yellow, kind of very, in a way, classical, maybe colors. So I think here we can now see, so this we kind of did just today to show you a little bit the techniques, but then again you can use the technique in different ways. So I think this mask idea is definitely something kind of fun that you could create at home, just to cut like whatever shape you want, or then you can even create the like objects with the same technique as I did with these lamps. So yeah. So thank you for visiting my studio today. I hope you get maybe some ideas how you could use, for example, this paper yarn or whatever you find. And also what I kind of encourage you to find, just play with the materials. And if you find some material, for example, in the shop that you really like, just maybe buy it and take it home and start kind of looking what you could kind of create from that. Because as I said, there is no rules, or you don't have to have a ready idea when you start the creative process. As I said many times, for me the start is from that I found some material and then I start creating from that and see what it comes from. And don't be afraid about if failure in that way, that okay, didn't came out as I was planned. But at least maybe you learned something and you had fun time doing it by your hand, doing something creative. It's always kind of nice, good idea. So thank you. Hope you had a nice time. Moi moi!